appears.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, I got it.
I guess it must be paused.
Yeah.
I turned my volume down on this thing. I should just turn it up a little. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
You're going properly.
I guess it's recording. I should pause it.
Discussion with a couple of you. And I think next year we're going to try and avoid having a meeting during the holiday week. I know we approved the calendar last month at the meeting, but I think we were all focused on holidays rather than what having a meeting in the middle of the holidays actually meant. So we'll talk about that in a minute. The first thing is to approve the minutes from the meeting of November, ably prepared by Duncan.
May I make a motion to approve them?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Now, unfortunately, Catherine can't join us tonight. She's got some health issue and has begged off tonight and has asked to join the meeting perhaps next month. So we'll go through that at the moment. Caitlin hasn't joined this meeting yet, I don't think.
No, I don't see her.
So that's all right. So, Mayor, if we could, can we go to the Cornwall business meeting?
Can I just make a comment on Kate's stuff?
Yes.
I just think it's terrific the what she's talking about with sustainable CT. And I hope that it's something that we as a group we should hopefully review all those materials she sent, and then hopefully she can come on next month and we can have a good discussion about that, because I think there's a lot of really good information there, and I hope that the EDC can get sort of jump on board with that program. And I'm personally interested in sort of representing the EDC on that work in the coming year.
Thanks, Duncan. I entirely
That's
agree.
fantastic.
That you couldn't join tonight, but
Yeah.
I think it'll be a very interesting presentation. I'm sure there'll be a good discussion.
Yeah.
Gordon, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Yeah.
Yep. Hello. So just an update on our business gathering. I guess we're calling it a business gathering. I do have the postcards. They got printed and they look pretty good. Actually, I have to get, I know Neil's not on, but I have to get a higher res version of the logo, but it looks fine, but it could be better. So yeah, so I think that, I don't know if there's broader things we need to discuss about the meeting and the agenda, and but I guess if there's quick vote that we need just to cover the expenses for this meeting. So
Correct.
I did not send it to everyone. I apologize, but I did send to Bianca and Simon and Gary the total.
In accordance with the instructions from Gordon. So that's an excellent thing to be saying at this moment.
Okay,
And of course,
good.
the other piece of news is that Gordon is going to join us and make some introductory comments at that meeting.
That's
And,
good.
yeah, the
Great.
business gathering, which I think is absolutely critical.
Yeah,
Before
so
we
the-
take a vote on the expenses,
Sorry.
Gary, could I just ask you to brief us on what the financial position of the EDC is at this point?
Sure.
And let's take a vote.
The update I have is, as of the end of October, we had $3,748.25 remaining in this fiscal year, and I am not aware of any spends since, so that is still the current to spend amount.
Thank you. And Mayor, your expenses came to,
It's 163, including
yeah, 163.
stamps that I have not bought yet, but I'm happy to be the one that buys it. It's easy to keep it in one. It's $163.01. So that's
Can we
just
have
for,
is there any
Thanks.
discussion on that? That, of course, is the cost of preparing the cards and mailing them, both of which are prerequisites to actually holding the meeting. Jane?
Did that include labels and stuff?
yeah, but just about $10. I just bought one pack. I think it's 750 labels. So I just bought one pack of labels. Yep.
Thank you.
It should, and the stamps are, I believe they're 44 cents for a postcard. So it's 200 stamps.
Good.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve those expenses, the $163.01.
I'll second.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. Carried. Thank you very much.
There's one thing I just wanted to make sure, Simon, because you had mentioned this, it is, please RSVP to Cornwall CT EDC at gmail.com. So making sure that you have the password for that.
Yes,
or-
I do.
You do, okay, great.
At least I hope I do. I certainly did have it. No, I think I got it. I checked the other day.
Hmm.
So that should be fine. And Jane, any developments on the ARPA funds and how to approach
I
that?
did meet with a bunch of artists. I spoke to some individually and then met with a few. There was a lot of discussion, but what it boiled down to, if you sort of distill it, is the idea that most people seemed most comfortable with was to recommend doing something along the lines of a simple lottery, so that people, artists, working artists, they would have to have some evidence that they're actual working artists, whether it's a website or an Instagram that shows that they're actually a working artist supporting themselves in some way, and do a simple lottery, which could be, it could be $700, $500 grants. There were other ideas. Some of them got very complicated to administer, and that seemed like a good thing to avoid. Leslie Elias had a lot of ideas of things to do. I'm not sure this grant cycle is the thing most appropriate for what she wanted. I suggested maybe she contact you about coming and speaking at some point about performing arts. There was also quite a lot of enthusiasm for maybe having some money made available from it to have music at Cornwall Day. That came up from a few different people. And the other question, sort of just an idea that floated up, which doesn't address the grant specifically, was whether Cornwall Day might evolve into more of an arts festival or an arts festival Cornwall Day. But in terms of specifically the grant, the kind of conclusion of most people was that they favored having a simple, straightforward lottery without many strings attached. I didn't get any feeling from any artists about wanting a arts council in Cornwall. They sort of feel that they have the Northwest Corner Arts Council and that it was redundant to have a town one.
How do members of the commission feel about that?
Well, I think a lottery is really the least invasive in a sense that, no one will feel like left out. It'll be all left up to chance, and it gets the money out there to the artists, instead of having it sit somewhere where it collects dust and nothing but. I think it might be a good way to disperse it and make it work for the people at this point.
There was also a suggestion that anybody who receives a grant will write a little paragraph or something for the Chronicle explaining what they did with it at some point.
Okay, I think that's a rational approach, and certainly if that's how the affected artists feel, that's probably a good indication of how we should proceed. Gordon, does that make sense to you?
It's fine with me. I mean, the town gave the money to the Arts Council, so it's really up to them to decide how our paperwork stops with the Arts Council. So it's fine. I mean, I think if nothing else, hearing the impact that there is a strong support for the Regional Arts Council, and the people surveyed don't feel it needs to be a town arts council. That is one of the things that's called for in the plan of conservation development. And if we can say that that's already being done in another way that's held to be more effective, that's one less task to do. So let's try to build up that organization, which is what we try to do to start with.
I do think one thing we're going to have to take care of is the letter of instructions to participants who participate in this. presumably we want whatever output is generated to be additive to Cornwall.
Yeah, there was that feeling among them as well.
Good. All right, thank you very much.
Mhm.
Gordon, do you have anything else you want to tell us as we end this calendar year?
Let's see. Yeah, no, it's been an interesting year. I think most business people would say the last 3 years have been up and down and each distinctive. I think we're seeing 2022 being a little less business wise than the previous 2 years, where this was a full overfull place. I think also the fact that there's very little for sale in town as far as property, and whenever anything comes for sale, it quickly goes away. That's a huge change over what had happened even 3 years ago. It's still a very popular place, and that's very positive reflection on the town. But it has, certainly made the housing issue much more important. And so we will be tackling that head on in 2023. We did vote we did close out our ARPA funds at the end of the year. And the ARPA committee decided to give $100,000 as requested to the Cornwall Housing Corporation. The Housing Corporation is about to undertake a major fundraising drive early 2023 to acquire and start developing some housing sites, because I think that directly ties into businesses and being able to staff businesses. The lack of working people in the area compared to the amount of job opportunities is real. So we will be tackling that. We also gave $35,000 to the Little Guild as they have decided to try to rebuild in Cornwall, and maintaining these important civic organizations in town, especially one like the Little Guild that actually employs quite a few people and is part of our fabric, I think is really important to the town. So we participated in that. And then we gave about $40,000 more to the Food and Fuel Fund, and another $5,000, I think, to the Greenwoods Counseling Service. That's our third grant to them, as there's been more needs for counseling than there was probably 3 years ago. So that wraps up the ARPA stuff for the town. And we did give quite a bit of money early on to businesses that were impacted, as well as the nonprofits and first responders. So, that section is done. I think it was really helpful to the town to sustain a lot of those organizations and businesses. A lot of times government funding gets a whack, but I think this was timely for a lot of these places. Looking ahead to 2023, there are some important projects in the pipeline, not the least of which is, of course, the wastewater plant, but also we, I think, fully supporting some of the new businesses that are starting up in Cornwall Bridge, I think will be very key to this commission and to the future business of the town. And there's some real excitement about some of the projects in the business pipeline, some of the new people that are looking at opening up new types of businesses in town. I think will really be, as you said, additive to the town, and probably distinctive and draw people in here and complement what's already here. So, a lot of excitement. I think it's good to have a meeting with people. And again, I remain optimistic that there's some changes that will be taking place that will build on what's already here. So I think that's it. Oh, and another important thing for January is we did move the annual meeting that updates the plan of conservation development to, I believe it is January 31st, whatever that Monday is. So that's at the end of January. Originally, we're gonna have it the day after the business meeting. So that's an opportunity for people to look at what has been accomplished in the last year, and certainly the EDC has a role to play in the plan conservation and development. So it would be good to have some people from the commission there to talk about some of their projects, some of their opportunities, some of the challenges. And again, that's a nighttime meeting. It'll be virtual, but it's probably the one chance that all the town boards and civic organizations get a chance to meet, hear what other groups are doing, what's happening, what they see going ahead. It's hosted by the Planning and Zoning Commission, who again are working hard on doing some of their stuff, which obviously impacts the shape and size of business in town. So again, a lot of stuff early on. The plan of conservation development is on the website if people want to look at it and see what are the responsibilities or what are some of the projects given off to the EDC. But just, being at the table is a big deal. So I think that's about where we're at this point.
Perfect. Well, we'll be there. One request that we have had is for the reimbursement of the costs associated with the maintenance of the Cornwall CT org website. Gary, do you want to update us on the discussion with Rocco on that?
So last year, 2021, the website committee of our town launched the new website and sought the funding for the hosting fees, the firewall, basically what they call the hard costs to run the site. They sought reimbursement from the EDC, which we did grant last year, $512.70. This is an ongoing annual cost, and the website committee has requested the EDC once again reimburse their Rocco, who paid for it out of pocket. And this year it's $501.99.
I think the question is, do we want the EDC to pay this this year as we did last year? Or is this, more properly a cost each of the night that the town for?
I think the question is that we created we took the Explore Cornwall CT.org site and created its own website for visitors. We basically took that off of the Cornwall website. So the Explore Cornwall used to be its own website, and then it got mashed together with the cornwall.org website. And that's when the EDC took over paying for that segment of services to the website committee. I don't know if we'll have two obligations: to pay for our website, the cornwall.com website, as well as the cornwall.org website for services. And I don't see much, there is updating happening on the site in terms of for businesses, but I would like to see more comprehensive updating and more easily searchable opportunities to find businesses, because how things are listed is very unintuitive. And I don't think that the cornwall.org website really helps us tremendously on the EDC to promote businesses. That's just, it's hard to find things like minutes, all these things.
Yeah, I've tried searching for minutes and that's quite difficult. Gary?
Yeah, I had asked Rocco when I spoke with him earlier today to write a bit more about the request. And I'm quoting from his email, quote, "So far this year, the website has For Explore the Covered Bridge has over 1,900 page views. The business directory has well over 2,000 page views. The Take a Hike page has over 1,300 views. This is, as he says in his writing, the idea of the key role this website serves for Cornwall.
So the Cornwall website always used to exist, and this goes way back when Richard was much more involved in it. Everything got paid through the Cornwall Association back then. The cost was minimal for the website, and people volunteered their time and effort for everything. I don't think that the cost was ever as high. And there is a segment on the Cornwall website, cornwall.org website currently, called Consider Cornwall. And that's a really unnecessary almost segment that really focuses much on West Cornwall rather than on the entire town and on its entities. And I would like to see that maybe updated. You know, I don't think there's enough updating on that website happening that is helping the Cornwall business community. You know, like, let's say every month promoting a different business, you know, a write-up, nothing is being refreshed, everything is stale and stagnant on that. So
Well, we
maybe
seem to
that.
spend a lot of time talking about the various websites in Cornwall. And you know,
Mhm.
I think we all hoped that we had developed a strategy.
Mhm.
It does seem to me that we need to coordinate. You know, on this website, it clearly does make an important contribution to communicating about Cornwall. And you know, if we can, maybe we need to work with Rocco or whoever the administrator is, make it better so it actually does fit our objectives better. But clearly it's doing a lot of good work on behalf of Cornwall, and it's very consistent with what we do. I'm not thrilled about taking on this expenditure for another year because frankly, if we do it 2 years, it's going to be 3 years, and before you know it, it's going to be a perpetuity. But I do think, you know, this probably is worth expenditure, and we'll just have to argue with the town next year in our budget to try and get some more money into the budget to take account of this. That's my view. What do other members think?
Well, one question back to Gary, the $500 that Rocco was saying, that does not include explorecornwallct.com, right? Or does it? Or is that what he's clarifying?
I'm not clear on that. I understood Explore Cornwall was rolled into the Cornwall website. So I don't have an understanding that there is a separate fee for that. I don't believe there is. That these are the full cost to run the Cornwall CT website.
Right, but Neil has been updating the .com just on behalf of the EDC. So that, I think that is a different charge, and right? I don't think Rocco updates that at all anymore. So, I mean, it does seem like we just should clearly, even though they're linked, obviously, and they should be linked. I mean, they always should be linked, but that does seem like the EDC should, you know, sort of oversee and therefore pay for the .com, but not, in my opinion, not necessarily the .org. But I don't know. Yeah, go ahead, Jane.
There's a question too about the numbers of people who are going to those websites. I think that one can see in the analytics where they're coming from. And because the two websites are linked, if the traffic is coming from the Explore Cornwall site to, it would be interesting to know which way it's going, or if it's going both ways. Do you know what I'm saying? The sites are linked. Are people finding the .org sites because of the Explore Cornwall or the other way around?
I think what's happening, Jane, is we're having a discussion which is much larger than the question that Rocco has posted, which is a request for funding. And these questions are, what's the interaction between these websites? What's the analytics? Who's the audience?
Yeah.
So it sounds what I'm sensing is we should table this request for funding until further discussion by ourselves with the website committee and also the .com.
Good idea.
And coordinate and make sure we
Mhm.
understand exactly which websites are doing what. Now, who's our best person to do that? I am not a particularly technical person, as most of you have discovered by now.
I mean, I don't know what the process should be, but I know Rocco. I'm happy to talk to Rocco. I'm happy to maybe link Rocco and Neil. And
Okay, and I'd be delighted to help.
Mhm.
okay,
Mayor, why don't we do that? We'll do it
Okay.
together.
okay,
It'll be
Okay.
Gary and myself and Neil and Rocco. And let's try and pull this together fast so we can have a report and decision for next month.
May I just ask one more question? I always thought, maybe wrong, that the .org site was a town site that also, is supplying, all the town information. Am I correct on that? That's,
Yes.
in other words, that shouldn't be something that comes and goes one year or another. I would think the town needs its official website for all its official business, correct?
That would be a question to pose to the website committee of, do they want to request funding from the town? And if not, so, that's their choice.
Okay,
And
I
we
thought
are,
a certain amount would be, that the town should have a town website where you can find town offices and phone
Mhm.
numbers and all of that. Seems normal to me.
Great. And
But
you
is
know,
the
if-
EDC,
we also have the question of, is it circular? If, we don't, it's not financed by the town, but it's financed through EDC, which is financed by the town. So I think there are quite a lot of considerations that the subcommittee address, but it seems to me we need to establish, clearly what the various websites are, what the various websites ought to do, who's handling them and who's paying. And hopefully we can bring some order to that, like the Gordian knot at this point.
Good.
Okay.
Mhm.
Good. Let's see, Neil's away. So I think at this point, a couple of things. The first of all, the calendar I put out last month, I cheerfully suggested the next meeting should be on January the 24th. As Vera has pointed out, it should be the 23rd, which is the Tuesday. And as I said at the beginning, we've also planned a meeting for December 26th, and that calendar we approved last month. I think that's probably a date we should postpone. Either move it up a week or move it back a week.
can I go back to the Tuesday, the 24th for a second? Sorry.
Sure.
So I just related to the meeting on the 26th. So we're having a regular meeting of the EDC on Tuesday, the 24th of January.
Correct.
Yes, okay. And then we have the meeting. So I don't know if we wanted to go back into like an agenda, or if we need more discussion now, or if, there's 2 days before that meeting. I can't remember where we let off with sort of how we're arranging that business gathering meeting.
I think what we need is an agenda for that meeting, which we'll have to prepare between the meetings. And then it's a question of inviting people and following up with the people we invite to make sure that they actually do attend.
I think Neil had a draft agenda. Yes,
I haven't seen that.
I thought he did. Okay,
Over last month,
Mhm.
not for this month. I don't think.
I think he did.
So Simon, the next meeting of the EDC is going to be Jan 23rd. Is that
It's going to be, I think it's January the 24th. I'm sorry.
January 24th is the Tuesday?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's the 4th. Does that make sense to everyone?
Mhm.
24th, okay. And what do we want to do about the meeting currently scheduled for December the 26th, Boxing Day of next year? My suggestion is that we move that up a week, which would-
I would agree with that suggestion.
make that December the 19th. Right, yes. December the 19th. Does anyone have a calendar handy which can confirm that? But anyway, the Tuesday before the 26th.
So that would be the third Tuesday. Gordon, are there any regular third Tuesday meetings that it would conflict with that you know of?
US.
It's Board of Finance, regular
Right.
meeting night, but often I doubt that's not in their
This year.
heavy time of year, so they may not have a meeting. They didn't have
Okay.
one this month.
What about the
Gotcha.
Board of Selectmen? That's
We meet
usually
up-
the third
Yeah,
Tuesday.
actually, that's right. We do meet that night, but
So maybe just one time we should meet on a Wednesday or something? I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't conflict with the selectmen.
Because we're shifting the date, doesn't matter whether we meet on what day of the week.
Right.
Let me investigate as best I can. We've got another 11 months before we have to determine this. And then we'll sort of sort that out. The other thing is, we need to have elections next month. So everyone who wishes to stand for office, just let me know, and then we can organize that during the call. We also need to think about whether we need new members. Casey Baird has requested consideration for inclusion in this committee. So those are two things to discuss at our next meeting.
I did, we also did get a letter that I'll give you a copy of, or email from Chris Sampson, who lives in Cornwall, who's expressed an interest in being on EDC. And I've asked him for a letter just saying what his qualifications and interests are. So
Good, so that's two candidates. Does anyone have anything else they want to discuss tonight? In that case, request of motion to adjourn at 8:03.
Make that motion.
Second.
Thirded or whatever. Excellent. Well, Happy New Year to everyone.
yeah,
Happy New Year.
And
New
our
Year.
homework, obviously Gary and Mayor and Neil.
It would have been nice if there was more public at this meeting too, but I don't think it was publicized.
I'm sorry, the meeting was not publicized. It was sent to the town clerk as normal.
I think it's just a bad time, in my opinion, Richard.
That's what really
People
why
are
we
away.
need to
Yeah.
switch the meeting, I
Yeah.
think, next year. All right. Well, Happy New Year, everyone.
Same to
Happy
you.
New Year.
Well, great.
Thank
you.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Night.
Night.